the Real Estate Training Podcast with Kiki Salcido, turning decades into days.
Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Training Podcast, better known as the RET Podcast. I'm your host, Kiki Salcido, and I am joined with my wife, Kristina. And today we are going to be talking about something that I feel every new broker asks this question. It's a problem that everybody has. But before we get into the answer, Kristina, I want you to give me what people typically say whenever we ask them this question. And that is, in real estate, as a real estate broker, what is your number one job?
To help somebody buy a house.
All right, help somebody buy a house.
To
what else do we get?
Sell a house.
To sell a house, to help somebody.
To
make money.
Get their systems. That isn't one thing that people talk about.
But
you
number
can't
one
do
job
that.
is to do their system?
To get their systems.
Yeah. Estevan, you got any? What do you think the number one job for a real estate broker would be?
Find your happy home.
To find the happy home. We actually do get that often.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if
So
those are the main ones.
to be completely honest, those are all wrong. Now they're not completely wrong, right? Because those are all goals, right? We want to do all those things as we grow in our profession, but you can't do any of those without
The clients.
Without the client, goodness, yes. So your number one job in real estate is always going to be prospecting. And so if you actually right now, if you Googled what prospecting means, it is going to be to explore an area for mineral deposits. So that's the definition. So what does that mean to you? That means your job is to literally go out and find gold in your area. And those golds, it's not the money that comes with it. It's the relationships you build. Because the way I view it, and you may view it differently, but I view every client as $1 million client. Whether you're qualified to buy a $100,000 home, I still think that if I do a great job representing you and helping you find that perfect home, then you're going to refer some business to me. You might sell that house. You might buy another house with me. And all in all, you'll probably end up spending over $1 million using my services.
Or referring out to equal $1 million.
Yeah.
Because we've had some clients that haven't spent a dime, but have referred us to everybody and their mother. And so they've helped our business that way.
Yeah. Whenever you first started, Kristina, now you started real estate in many places. Mm-hmm. So whenever you first started back in DC? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So back in DC, how did you think, because you were new to that city as well. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people is they feel like they're new. I think the people that grew up in areas have kind of that low-hanging fruit within their COI, but you being new to DC, how were you planning on getting business?
I honestly had no idea. I was working with an investor who was flipping houses. So
Okay.
I was thinking probably on the investor side.
So investors, that's actually, I love that you brought that up because I think investors are probably one of the absolute best places to start getting business. And the best part about it is you can pull up public data. You can see who owns a lot of houses, maybe pull up that entity name, see how many houses they own. That might be a good person to talk to, right? Because if they're buying and selling real estate, then you know that you have a client that's active in the market. So what else?
I honestly, when I was in DC, I didn't think further past that. I honestly didn't get into it. I got my books and started the classes, but I didn't complete anything when I was in DC. When we were in California and I was doing it again, same thing. We were looking at investors on an investment standpoint. I don't think we thought we were doing flyers, door knocking, web ads and stuff like that. But we didn't really have like a plan. Really. It was more so like looking for investment properties, more so than on the real estate client side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so for us, we did start off, flipping houses and such. So we did have kind of a different trajectory. But within that, so we were in California and we were working on the investment side, and then we moved back to New Mexico and we started all over. I preface it as a failing actor because I never became Brad Pitt. So we moved back to New Mexico, and I really didn't want to talk to anybody. So my COI, I just kind of pushed that to the side. COI, SOI, Center of Influence, Sphere of Influence, pushed that to the side because I really didn't want to connect with them. I felt like my tail's between my legs. So how did we start getting business?
Being flat broke, the only thing we could do is open houses. So we did those, 2-3 times a weekend?
Yeah.
I think that was a really good source, especially when people are jumping into a new career. They don't necessarily have capital for it. I know obviously market specific, you're going to be able to do different things, but I think open houses are great. A, you get to learn different areas because you're in different houses. B, you get to hear what buyers are looking for. Also with us, we were seeing a lot of buyers and what they didn't like about their agents. And that's how we were able to convert a lot of them. Is, well, yeah, my agent didn't even tell me about this house. I came across it, or my agent sends me stuff I don't ask for, or I can't get a hold of my agent, or I haven't talked to them in 6 months. So I think you and I learned a lot about, client relationships from the open houses.
Yeah, no, and 100% like the client expectation as far as, I love it whenever somebody says this house is priced too high. And I think a lot of brokers take that as, well, they can't afford this house, when in reality, what the client is actually saying is that they don't believe that the house should be valued at that price.
Yeah.
So it's not really an affording thing. It's how,
how they perceive it.
What is it? In the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a phrase for it. What's that called? It's
beauty
called
is in the eye of the beholder.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's exactly what it is. So, I love that. And getting in with those open houses, I mean, you do get a lot of, pure demographic research that really helps. I mean, you start to see, how many people actually show up in certain areas, so you can see what are desired areas. Mm-hmm.
Well, with us, we would say, you don't like this house, but at the time, there's 6 others in this neighborhood. Let's go see them. And then that way we could see all of the houses in the area that were on market. So if we had another client that was looking at it, I just saw that house. I was showing that house to another client the other day. Shows you're busier. It's going to give you more clout.
Yeah. So we first started, we headed up the open houses.
That's all we could do.
That's all we really could do, right? We didn't know a whole lot else at the time. And that kind of gave us a leg up. That gave us a little bit of room because we did, what I love about open houses is if somebody's going out on a Saturday or Sunday to go look at an open house instead of watching a football game or, working on the yard, that to me tells me that this is somebody that is probably pretty active in the marketplace.
Motivated,
so
yeah.
They're probably going to be buying, 1 to 3 months or, 0 to 3 months from now. So this might be a good person to talk to. Aside from that, where else would you say that you got clients from?
Well, I mean, we got a lot of referrals from our the only business we did that first year was open house people, or people that open house people referred us to.
So let's say the current market, the way it is right now, not a whole lot of inventory. I mean, inventory is coming up, right? Pending.
Yeah.
Home sales are down for the fifth time.
I would say if you don't have money, door knock and say you have clients.
So on that door knocking vein, post COVID, do you think that that's going to be well received?
I think so, but I'm not as paranoid.
I think about this in 2 ways, right? I think there's going to be that one class of people that's excited that there's somebody that's actually talking to them again.
To them, yeah.
And I think there's a second class that still is really scared. And, and then there's that total other, subset that has never wanted you to knock on their door. I'm in that subset. I don't want you to ever knock on my door.
Hate people on the property.
And so for me, as I whenever we first started, it was hard because that was really all we could do is open houses. But what I really wanted to start doing, and I think what's helped us a lot, is rather than thinking as a broker, I wanted to think as a buyer. And why would I use a broker? Where would I find a broker? And what's important to me about that broker? Right. So as I started to break down these things and doing those open houses, that allows us to actually ask those questions to that specific demographic. Right. So that's the best. It's literally a focus group that you didn't have to pay for.
That's true.
So you get the best knowledge from it.
Well, I mean, are you going down the vein of needing to be on web presence and stuff? because that was a lot of people that we talked to. They were with if they were with a broker that they knew the name, number one, it was a big broker that had a big site, lots of marketing, lots of money, I would say, marketing dollars.
Okay.
So that's a whole other thing. Like if you have marketing dollars, you could boom your business. But if you don't have marketing dollars,
Exactly. So we don't have marketing dollars. How are you gonna find the people? Right? Because door knocking can go one of. And in all honesty, I think door knocking is a great way to start building that relationship. You know, we had a gentleman, last name Crowley, who was doing a bunch of door knocking, and the dude took over that whole area, right? And so that was pre-COVID though, so I don't know how that would fly.
Well, I mean, I think as long as you're not trying to walk into their house, you're just talking to them behind a door.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've watched a lot of door knocking etiquette as far as taking a step back after.
I think as long as you're as long as you're respectful, like hi, if they walk up and they're like.
Yeah.
Not just say, I think the door knocking that we did that we were successful at was door knocking before an open house because you have a purpose to be there.
Yeah.
I think I have a buyer in the area, they might hear that all the time, but if it's legit, you can do it. I think in markets like this where there's not inventory, that's a really smart way to get your face and name out there, but you need something to leave behind. So you need cards or you need a flyer. You need some sort of actionable item, I would say.
Okay. Go further.
I mean, if you just go leave your card and say, have a nice day, what are the chances of them remembering you again?
So what would be something to, aside from saying like, hey, I have an open house, or hey, I may have a buyer interested in this area?
Well, I mean, then you go into farming, which costs a little bit of money. But you could sign up for a raffle. You could do something like that. We did that at our open houses and got a lot of people.
Yeah. But I'm saying like door knocking, like if you really want to build relationships with these people, and it's literally a cold door knock, cold introduction. Because this is what I found over our career is that a lot of people don't see us as the haloed angels we believe that we are, right? Because we come at it with this pure intention that we honestly just want to help people.
Yeah.
You know, obviously everything that we do is a pain in the ass, but helping people does make it a little better.
So you're saying like leave something of value? Like leave something like, hey, this is how the process works.
Yes.
Or here's how to get a loan. Or I think something that has shelf life, even a calendar. I've seen a lot of people do it, like that lady in California. She would do the calendars and events that were coming up, and that would just go on the fridge because you could see when the calendar was happening.
Okay.
Or when the event was happening.
So, but let's say, because again, we're getting back into now you need some marketing dollars. Okay?
Well, no, okay.
So, but I'm just trying to pull away from that altogether. Because even let's say your brokerage is charging you 10 cents a copy and you don't want to print a whole lot of copies.
Okay.
Right. So maybe let's do away with shelf life.
All right. Talking about phone calls now?
Well, no, let's say we're still door knocking.
Okay.
What type of value could you leave somebody just in conversation? You kind of just talk about the market a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk about
the house that sold down the street.
Or maybe, hey, my client just used this stucco guy. I wanted to pass his information along to you. He did such a great job and such a reasonable price. Definitely look into his business and do your own research. But from the experience we had, it was very pleasurable. So within that, you're adding a little bit of value, and now they might call you back and say, hey, what was that guy's name?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I think about it, is whenever you just door knock.
Yeah.
Because that's what I see, is I just see so many people prospect without intention.
Yes.
And like clearly the intention.
Without actionable items.
Yeah.
Or something to follow up on.
But clearly the intention is to get a client.
Yeah.
But what do I always say? You can't have a contact and turn it into a contract without the R, which is the relationship. So you got to build the relationship.
Yeah.
We did some open houses, did some door knocking. What are other free ways to get prospects?
Are we going to give away our nugget? Okay, so Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's not
It's a good nugget.
That's a great nugget
So-
that you should take away from. I think it's a great place to start prospecting.
So basically, you would just ask people, if you don't have listings, you'd ask people in your brokerage or anybody that you know, is it okay if I market your listing on Facebook? And you just go into Facebook Marketplace, you list it for sale. As long as you say the agent name listed by and the brokerage, you're okay to do so, and you have permission from the agent. But I just did that with one of my listings the other day, and I got like 45 messages. Now, granted, a lot of people just hit that button that says, is this still available? Well, duh. And then you write back and they don't do anything. But some of them will actually be like, yeah, can I schedule a time to go see it? Boom. Guess what? That's a client. So that is a really good way. You're going to have to nurture them a little bit more, but who cares? You just have the right questions and say like, okay, yeah, let's go schedule a time. What's a good number for me to text or call you at? Sometimes it dies there. Other times it doesn't.
Perfect.
Or let me send more information, the MLS form or whatever. Or, hey, I'm having an open house. Why don't you come by? I'll see you there.
Yeah.
That's what we did with this one.
You said nurture, and I want to touch back on that in just a few seconds. But I want to get another freebie for the listeners as where they could get some additional leads.
Posting on your social media about something, maybe asking a question.
Yeah.
How many of you guys are in your dream home? How many of you have $500?
So whenever you're posting on social media, you really want engagement.
Yes,
so it's
you
not
want
just,
questions.
hey, sold this house. Who's looking to buy? Because, maybe
awesome.
somebody will say
Yeah.
that I'm looking. But you really want to ask questions like, something that's more thought-provoking. Like, is this the kitchen you'd have for the next 10 years? No.
Or I've seen the latest one is, what was the interest rate when you bought your first house? And people just like to give you information about their house, and they could say,
I actually love that
6%,
one
whatever.
because you will get a lot of people that will be like, yeah, I bought it at 12. I bought it at 17, right? Like that's good perspective to give people.
yeah.
With current interest rates kind of climbing.
think I've been trying to structure it a little bit differently. It's just, like I said, like you're saying, ask questions and get engagement, because if you can do that, then they're going to see your posts more often with the algorithms. But B, you're not asking them something that's threatening or requiring something of them. People love talking about themselves. So if you can get people to talk about themselves or their house or their life or give their opinion on something, opinions are huge. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants everyone to know it.
Yes. No, and I think that's great that you brought that up. I think so many brokers, and you see this if you follow any brokers on social media, it's all about them. Rah, rah. Mr. Broker, Mrs. Broker. And that is terrible. God, I hate hearing people talk about themselves. I do it all the time. I just talk about myself.
We're trying to
that's the
shift
thing is
it.
I love talking about myself.
Yeah.
And I think like what I was saying is, if you take it from your own perspective, is I was a buyer. How would I go about this whole thing? And I don't want to hear a broker talk about how many deals they've sold or what they do. I want to know that they know what they're doing, right?
But that comes hand in hand, though. I feel like if you gloat a little bit and you talk about how
gloat is
gloat
different,
in a good way,
right?
No, like gloat, like I got this, like this family got into a house. We had multiple offers out. We were, blah 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 blah. They finally got into a house. We're excited. How many people, like after we started posting all the stuff we did, you got a ton
but
of people.
those are good case study type of posts, right? It's not,
Yeah.
hey, I just bought a new Ferrari because I sold so many houses, right? It's that type of stuff that, that arrogance. And you do see it with top performing brokers. There's this level of arrogance that goes,
goes hand in hand with it. Yeah.
you can't not notice it. And I think like for some people, like it works, right? For other people, I think for the majority of people, I don't get turned on by it, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna ask me questions about what I want to see in my next house, what I like in my current home that I want to see in my next house, what I don't like, that type of stuff,
That's what
that
they care
gives me
about.
a jump off point where I can talk about me. And I love me.
Yeah, but I think like it has to be just structured correctly, because if you do gloat in the sense of the amount of business you're doing, people are going to say, well, they must be good if they're doing this much business. So I think if you do it right and
Yeah,
tactfully,
I definitely think there is a balance
yes,
within
because
it.
like I just said,
if you
look
were
at
just
you.
so yeah.
You didn't want to talk to anybody. You didn't reach out to one COI person. People started reaching out to you because they saw your production. So, that's a good way. Instead of reaching out and asking people for business, show them you have the business, and like everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon.
You know what I feel? I feel like people started reaching out after I had a kid.
You're welcome.
I know, thank you. No, but I honestly
Yeah.
feel like it was like a maturity level. Like I unlocked a new level of my life.
Well, you were a baby when you started. So like, I get that.
No, and that is tough. I think
So-
a lot of, and
Young brokers.
there's this huge wave of young brokers that are coming into the industry. And I think that's the biggest thing that they're fighting right now is their age. There's a podcast that I was actually just listening to of this kid. He's 18 years old and just done remarkable things. So
6
the
years,
age
yeah.
is definitely just a number. It's how you carry yourself and that type of stuff. I get that.
But that's why I think like for people to try to understand your business and what you're doing, like the age, like think about it. If you're going to go and, I don't know, for an example.
But I mean, if you don't want to show up in like a hoopty,
Yes. Right. Oh God. Image
you
is
wanna-
everything.
yeah.
Fake it till you make it, dude. That's what my dad used to say to me when I was little. He'd be like, you know what? You got to fake it till you make it. So, I mean, just dress the part, act the part, be professional, be presentable. There we go. I mean, like the agent in California. Like we felt bad. He was a nice guy, great guy, but I didn't really trust him to purchase $1 million home when his car barely drove.
yeah.
I felt bad for the guy. He was a nice guy, but that just it comes hand in hand. Image does do a lot. Whether you're a judgy person or not, it's still in the back of your mind.
No, it is. I mean, you do want to know that the person that's handling such a big investment is doing well themselves. I get that.
Yep.
I get that. So we got Facebook Marketplace, social media, posting with some value. You want to have a little bit of gloats, but not too much, right? You want to show that you're experienced, but you still want to ask questions so people can open up about themselves. You're going to go to open houses because that is the lowest of all hanging fruits because these people are actively looking and they're probably not showing up with their broker, which is a good opportunity for you to ask why your
broker's
broker
not there.
decided that, you know, football Sunday was better than his favorite client, right? So I'm just kidding. But
No, you're not. We've done that so many times.
no, I mean, like you never want to talk bad about another broker, right? There, we do have ethics that we want to follow, but you do want, like, our main objective is to make sure that our clients are taken care of, and so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that's the case. And I think if you can portray that to any client,
If they trust you, you've got
You'll
them
get a
for
win.
life,
Yeah.
man. Yep.
well, but the trust part is hard whenever you're starting out.
Well, true.
Because you don't know everything. And still to this day, man, we don't know everything. But yeah, you don't fully know and understand the contracts. You may not fully know and understand comps. You might not fully know the whole process, all that stuff.
Then just, I think while you're prospecting and learning and you're still new, in the time that you aren't doing necessarily deals right that second, you need to be in class, you need to be learning, because then once you get those people on the line, you have some value to provide them. I'm very sick of brokers that just go out all willy-nilly and they don't know anything and they don't know what to talk to their clients about, and they're doing a disservice and they're not going to get repeat business.
But that being said, there's analysis paralysis. So you can't let trying to know everything hold you up from doing the actual business. Like there's a lot of stuff you're not going to learn in a book. There's a lot of stuff that's not going to be on the form. You're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to ask people that have been through it. So there's a jump off point that you have to make and just go out and talk to people. And that's really what I was getting at, right? We could do social media. We can go to open houses. We can contact our COI. We can do door knocking, but we can also like go to the grocery store. And you know, if somebody's buying some milk and you're buying milk and there's an opportunity for a conversation, like that happens all the time. Like I was just downstairs
Oh, yeah.
drinking a protein shake and might have got a guy to move in for a barbershop, right? Like it's those little things that, you know, you just got to have these conversations because you don't know where people are in their life. And whenever people are too scared to get out of their comfort zone, I always say, you know, the only time you grow whenever you're comfortable is around the waist. So get out of that comfort zone and grow.
I have another nugget.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if you have COI base and you have people in your database and all that, newsletters. How many listings and clients did we get revived or people bringing to us because of a newsletter?
Very easy touch to make.
So ours is just a 4-page, like there's some market knowledge that we got from like GAR or our, you know, association website, a little about some gloating. Hey, we got these under contract. These are the families we helped this month. Hey, we had a new kid that was born, you know, hey, we had this, we had a new agent that was added to our team. Hey, we did this and this. So I think every time we do that, we get people responding back to us, and we do it once a quarter. We should do it more, but we do about once a quarter. And I think that if you, again, don't have money, it's electronic. It does take some time, but I think that would be huge.
I think, as people starting off, I'm a very firm believer in half days. I very much believe you should be working 12 hours a day towards your goal. What if you do with the other 12 hours is totally up to you, right? Sleep 8, eat 4. I don't really care. But, work 12 hours because it's your life.
Yeah.
And it's what you can make out of it, what you want to make out of it. But if you're not putting in the work, then don't complain.
I'm laughing because every time you say that to people, I watch them instead of when you're like, yeah, I work half days. And they're like, yeah, they're nodding their heads. And then the second you say, you work 12 or whatever you do with the other 12, I don't care. And then they're still nodding. And then all of a sudden they like, wait, he's actually talking about working 12 hours. And then you just see like some people are like, oh, and they start panicking over the 12 hours. It's really funny.
It is because it's eye-opening for a lot of people because they think whoever designed an 8-hour workday, right?
Is it an 8 hour? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that an 8 to 4 or 9 to 5?
8 times 5 would be 40 hours a week. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so little. But think about it. Even if like you worked 7 to 7, you still have a few hours before you go to bed, and you can get up and go to the gym at 5, 6, have a life, and then you have your weekends.
No,
if you're not a realtor.
literally have plenty of time. Like there's this book called The Miracle Morning, and the whole premise of the book, I don't want to ruin it for you guys, so pick it up. There's some nuggets in there. But the whole premise is just wake up 2 hours earlier. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, let's say you do that for 5 days. So now you've now put in an additional 10 hours into your life. Let's say your competition's not doing that. So now you're working 10 hours more than your competition. Mm-hmm. That's at least another day. By the end of the month, 4 days.
In year 48. Right?
I don't know about that.
We're terrible.
I can't do that math. But it's those little things, right? If you can put, if you can put that extra effort in, it'll pay off. And like, if you think about it is, I'm going to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for 25, 30 years, and then I'll retire. Well, if I work 100 hours a week for 10 years, I would still probably
so much extra time.
I'm going to have a little bit more time.
Yep.
So with that, I know you're like, man, I just got started. How am I going to work 12 hours a day? Well, the education is such a huge part of that.
Yep.
And the education is going to double up. And what that's going to do is, one, it's going to feed into your brain. 2, it's going to feed into your campaigns. And this is, you said nurture earlier, so I wanted to come back to this. It's the nurture campaigns that are so important. And everything you're learning right now at your inception of your career, these are all the best things to put in that, because this is all information that you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that. Oh man, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. That's the same stuff that your clients are looking for, right? It's those same little aha moments that if you start putting those into emails and into text messages and you build out these campaigns, well shit, now whenever you start have business, these are running.
I mean, think about it. Like, your buyer isn't going to be super advanced. So what you're learning right now as a beginning agent is stuff, like you just said, that's stuff that they need to hear. They don't need to hear about all the advanced stuff because that's going to be over their head.
Yeah.
And right now, like, if we try, like you and I have tried that, we're like, oh, let's go back down to basics. And we're like, this. And we're like, no, that's not basic enough, just because we've got so much extra junk in our brains. So I think that that's actually a really good idea to start doing that. Yeah, even bullet points.
But that's exactly, whenever we started off, we had nothing but time. We were very poor. I was cleaning dog crap for other brokers. Tina was doing TC work. Anytime that we weren't doing that, we were building our systems, learning more. I always said, if you're not learning, you better be earning, right? I have a lot of little catchphrases.
But I think that's,
So I think that is a solid
jumping off point.
Little tidbit for you guys. So open houses, obviously that's going to be the best place for you to start if there are any around. And you want to make the whole point of doing an open house is to get contacts, right? You're not there to sell the house. So get the people's contacts. Find out
other houses in the area. Yep. If there are, if that house doesn't match, go show them right after the open house.
Those little value points, right? So you're going to know other places that are open. You're going to know other statistics in the marketplace, right? You're going to, again, all this stuff is feeding into your career. So everything you're doing right now is still paying you off for the next 10, 15 years. So don't think of it as a waste of time. This is the best thing you can do with your time.
Door knocking,
getting in front of the neighborhood you want to work. And that's a big thing, is pick the neighborhood you want to work and work out from there.
Yeah.
But, if you just take a shotgun approach, that could work, or you could be a lot more refined and specific, and that could work as well. But you have to pick a strategy and stick with it. Consistency, and you'll hear this, I'm sure I'm not the only person that said it, right? But consistency is key. So the more consistent you will be, the more successful you can be.
Mm-hmm. And then Facebook Marketplace, sweet place. To get a ton of leads.
Get some good leads. Thing with Facebook leads is there's typically a longer conversion cycle. So that's where that nurture campaign comes in really heavily, because you want to stay in front of them.
Mm-hmm. And then your newsletters, which is going to be huge.
Yeah, throw out some newsletters. Get in front of the people that you've already been talking to. And those are great. Really great for your COI if you have your COI. I know a lot of brokerages, they start you off and they say, get an Excel spreadsheet and write every contact on your phone and get their email addresses and their birthdays and all that stuff. That's all good stuff to do. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think it's worked.
Old school.
It is old school, but it still works.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable with calling and asking for business. I know other brokers aren't.
Well,
I have a different approach about it.
Goes through that phase whenever all your friends become a financial advisor and they call you and try to set you up on this little.
Well, and that's why I think that I like the newsletters, because it's not necessarily asking them for the business. It's saying, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And then if they'd be like, oh, you know what? Gosh, I didn't know they were in real estate. I'm going to give them a call. I want to sell my house.
Exactly. No, that's exactly. It's a good point for you to kind of be like, hey, I know you don't know this. Yeah, you don't want to assume everyone's following your life.
Please.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the RET podcast. Hopefully you guys got some good nuggets today. Please tune in for the next one.
You can follow us on Instagram, K2 Simply Real Estate. I believe that's the same on Facebook. Our website's k2simply.com.
Make sure you check out the YouTube channel at Simply Real Estate NM. We'll see you guys next time.
The Real Estate Trending Podcast with Kiki Salcido, turning decades into days.